Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to episode 39 of Retro Buyer's Guide. I'm Mike, and today we're going to be taking a look at 5 fantastic shmups. The past few videos I've done, I have done a lot of tutorials and more kind of highlighting some of the consoles that I own in my collection. And so for the next few videos, I wanted to get back to some of the games that I own and talk about them. And so the shoot 'em up genre is one of my personal favorites. It's my go-to when I'm looking for something fun and quick to play. And the games on this list are some of the best in my opinion. I did want to make clear that this is not a list of the definitive best shmups. These are just my personal favorites that I've enjoyed over the years and that I like the best. And so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at some of my favorite shoot 'em ups. The first game I want to talk about is Keio Flying Squadron for the Sega CD. Now, this game has shot up in price drastically over the last few years, but it is one of the best shoot 'em ups for the Sega CD in my opinion. Now, when I first started playing this game, I had no idea what was going on because it has kind of a convoluted story. From what I gather from the opening cutscenes, raccoons want to take over the world, and your grandmother threatens to starve you to death unless you stop them. Also, something about a secret treasure. I'm not really sure what that is either.
What is the key for?
It's for the secret treasure.
Then what is the secret treasure, Grandma?
Don't ask so many questions.
Of course, none of that really matters because, after all, this is a shoot 'em up, and it's a pretty fun one at that. You basically control your pet dragon, and you are shooting down legions and legions of woodland creatures, including raccoons, but there are also evil frogs and other things. Along the way, you'll be collecting power-ups, like these bombs that fly at a downward angle and kill things on the ground. There's also a 3-way shot that you can also get. But perhaps the most useful is the ability to make little clone dragons of yourself by holding down the A button. Now, you can't be firing at the same time you're holding down the A button to spawn these little dragons, so you need to be strategic about when you use it. You can also sacrifice one of them by pressing the C button and use it as a special attack to help clear some of the enemies off the screen all at once. You'll need to master all of these tactics because Keio Flying Squadron is a pretty challenging game, despite its cutesy look and character design. I really like some of the graphical touches they added to this game, like the day and night cycles, for instance, and the soundtrack is top-notch. I really enjoyed playing through all the levels because the music was so good. My one major complaint about this game has nothing to do with the gameplay at all. It's actually the price. And this is something I've kind of addressed in some of my other videos, but at $200 for a loose copy and $500 and sometimes even upwards of that for a complete copy, not a lot of people are going to be adding this to their collection. Thankfully, there are other ways to play this game, like emulators, and the Sega CD has no copy protection, so you can always burn this game onto a blank CDR if you wanted to play it that way. The thing is I can't really recommend anyone pay those kind of prices for a single game. As good as it may be, no game is worth that kind of money, and this game in particular isn't for sale on any digital platform, so there's really no other way to play it. I don't really like condoning piracy at all, but at the same time, Sega's not making any money off of you buying this game on the secondhand used market. Only an eBay seller is, so if you like this game and you want to play it, you're going to have to go one of those two options, and you're just going to have to go by whatever moral code guides you. I can't tell you what to do, but I do think this is a great game and totally worth your time. All right, rant over. Up next, we have one of my all-time favorites. This is the Detana Twinbee Deluxe Pack for the Sega Saturn. This game also has a story, but it's all in Japanese, so I have no idea what's going on. Some princess is holding a crystal and needs you to do something. There, I'm going to go with that. So basically, this is a vertical shoot 'em up. You shoot these bells, and you kind of have to juggle them by shooting them multiple times, and collecting them when they're different colors will result in a different power-up. However, this is really hard to do in later levels because you also have simultaneously enemies coming at you from all directions on the screen. And to add to it, you'll also need to throw bombs toward the ground to kill the enemies that are shooting you from there. There's a lot going on at the same time, But once you kind of get the hang of how to play this game and start to learn some of the enemy patterns, it becomes a lot easier. One thing that flips the table completely in your favor is finding the Twinbee power-up. It's usually hidden in one of the ground enemies once they explode, but latching onto it makes you pretty unstoppable. And did I mention you can also power up your weapon by holding down the fire button and letting go? Detana Twinbee offers a lot of variety in its gameplay. I did want to mention there's a version of Detana Twinbee for the PC Engine. It's obviously not as graphically impressive as the Saturn version, but it's still the same gameplay and it's still just as fun. And I actually really like what they did with the soundtrack on the PC Engine. Next up is a classic for the TurboGrafx 16, and that is Blazing Lasers. The first time I played this game, I absolutely fell in love with it. It was one of the first TurboGrafx 16 games that I bought, and it immediately impressed me with what the TurboGrafx 16 was capable of. One of the first things you'll notice is each time you collect a power-up in this game, you'll hear a voice sample. It's fairly low quality, but pretty cool stuff for 1989. And while I'm on audio, let me just say that the soundtrack to this game kicks ass. It really utilizes all the best qualities of that quintessential PC Engine sound. You really can't get that kind of sound out of any other console. One thing I really love about the gameplay in Blazing Lasers is the sense of speed you get while you're piloting your ship around the screen. The control is great, and I never feel like the game overwhelms you with enemies. While the TurboGrafx 16/PC Engine is known for a lot of great shoot-'em-ups, I would place Blazing Lasers near the top of that list. Raystorm for the PlayStation 1 is a very underrated shoot-'em-up. It was brought over to the United States by everyone's favorite localization company, Working Designs, but here I'm playing the Japanese import version by Taito. When you begin the game, you can select from one of two different crafts. You have two basic attacks. You have a primary cannon, and just like Galactic Attack for the Sega Saturn, you can lock onto targets and shoot a homing missile, which can take out several foes at once. Successfully locking on and shooting down multiple targets with your missile will fill your bar on the top left-hand side of the screen, allowing you to unleash a special attack that will clear the screen of multiple enemies. Some people are turned off by the polygonal graphics of the early PlayStation era, but here I find them kind of aesthetically pleasing. For what this game is, I think it works well. I really enjoyed this game, and I just don't think it gets mentioned as much as its contemporaries from the same console generation, like Radiant Silvergun, for instance, or even Einhander on the same platform. While it may not be as varied as those other examples, it's definitely just as fun to me, and being that it's one of the cheaper Working Design games that you can pick up, I definitely recommend trying to get your hands on a copy. And finally, we have Gun.Smoke by Capcom for the Nintendo Entertainment System. And by the way, the reason it's called Gun.Smoke is because the TV show had the rights to the name Gun.Smoke. There are very few shooters that I put as much time into as this game. Perhaps that's because I was a kid with a lot of free time, but I'd like to think it's because it's a pretty good game. Each level has you hunting down a particular outlaw, and along the way you'll gun down hundreds of bad guys and collect some items. Pressing the B button will allow you to shoot left, pressing the A button will allow you to shoot right, and pressing both at the same time will allow you to shoot straight ahead. Bumping into characters with an exclamation point above their head will allow you to access a shop where you can purchase different items. Before you can face off with the outlaw boss of a particular level, you'll either need to purchase the wanted poster or pick it up as one of the hidden items that are scattered across the level. Make your way to the end of the stage with the wanted poster in hand, and you'll face off with the end boss. I really like this game for putting a twist on the shoot-'em-up genre. Typically, when you play these kind of games, you usually control an aircraft or a spaceship shooting other spaceships. So Gun.Smoke is a nice departure from that setting. It also happens to be very affordable. Alright guys, that is going to do it for episode 39 of Retro Buyer's Guide. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please keep liking and subscribing. I really appreciate all the new subscribers. Thanks so much for your support, and I look forward to making more videos, but until then, happy collecting.